What's up, wonderful humans? My name is Anthony,
And my name is Eric.
and we are the Board Game Dads, and you are watching a Board Game Dad cast, which is all about board games and being dads and all the fun things that come between those two things. This is Dadcast episode number 9.
8. Oh,
8 was Halloween.
got it.
And if you are not aware, speaking of Halloween, we did 4, count them, 4 videos for Halloween. Now, I know Halloween's over, but you might want to go check those out. And you know what? There's always next year. This content does not expire,
And
people.
there's a lot of content for Halloween, too.
Enough that we made 4 videos
Yeah.
and enough that I was on one of Chris's videos talking about Halloween games as well and didn't repeat any of the picks. So goes to show you what a broad theme that is.
Yeah, we did it. We had a lot of games to talk about for Halloween. That was fun.
So how was your actual Halloween?
It was good. I got to take my 2-year-old and my son, but he's only 5 months, so he's just in the stroller. But he was very good in the stroller. So we stayed out for about an hour, and my daughter loved it. She was dressed as a skunk, and she was just going back and forth from door to door, and she was loving it. And it was great. And watching her like run around with her tail wagging, it was amazing. And I can't wait to
Did
do it
she
next
know? Did she know what she was? Like, was she aware of her
Yes,
costume?
because she has stuffed animal skunks.
Okay, cool.
There was only a few costume ideas that we were certain that she was going to know, and it's mostly dog, cat. We don't want to dress her as something that she doesn't know or doesn't like, so we
Right.
picked the skunk, and we told people she was a were-skunk, and then we would ask her what the were-skunk says, and at every door she would go, "Oh!" Yeah.
That's awesome.
What about you guys?
Yeah, we had a blast too. It was similar. If you don't know, our children are pretty close in age, so this was also AJ's first, very interactive Halloween where he was doing the act of trick or treating, knocking on doors and getting candy. And same, he had a blast. My parents were there too, so we were walking around the blocks a few times, and my daughter was in the wagon. She was like totally chill for like an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. Didn't make a
Yeah.
peep. It was crazy. And yeah, he had a great time. Um, I was surprised, I think, at how many people had candy just kind of sitting out, but the bowl said take 1 or take 2 or whatever. But I guess
Yeah.
that's still a COVID thing in a lot of people's eyes.
So we did that because I wanted to take my daughter out. My wife wanted to take her daughter out,
Right.
and we didn't want to be the house with no candy. So we just left the bowl, and then when we came back, we had the big candy bars.
Goody bars.
Yeah. But yeah, it was there was a lot of houses that just had a big bowl out. And a lot of people had a big bowl out, and they were sitting out there just hanging
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, that's what we usually do anyway. And so a couple of the neighbors always do that with us. So like even when we were trick or treating, our house was being taken care of candy wise from our neighbors and stuff. So it kind of worked out. So Halloween is behind us. We do have a lot of Halloween videos. Check those out. Last week, however, we had a brand new board game holiday spotlight go up on daylight savings time. So we turned the clocks back, and for that theme, we talked about some of our favorite real-time games. So go
Mhm.
check those out, which is basically the same thing as dice rolling games. It turns out, for the most part, but with a couple of exceptions. And we are going to focus today later on games with a polyomino element to them. That's our main topic. More on that later. Before that, let's talk about some games.
Let's do it.
Eric, what would you like to talk about first?
All right. Well, first, I would like to point out that for daylight savings,
Mm.
we actually didn't realize when it was happening between, that 1 and 2, and we just happened to be playing games at that time. So it wasn't real time because it's tough to play real time games when you got a baby who's waking up every 30 to 45 minutes or so, and then you got to like pause everything. It just doesn't work out.
Yep.
But first game I want to talk about is called Set a Watch. Now, I have briefly touched upon this game in the past. I really like this game. I played it solo. When you play solo, you have to play all 4 characters. It's something different. And they recently had a Kickstarter, and it finally got shipped out and delivered. And I've
Nice.
opened it up. Haven't played it yet. It's basically a standalone expansion. So it's a standalone game.
Okay.
Or you can play with the base game. It's basically the same thing, but they give you different characters to choose from. and different villains or creatures to fight.
Cool.
And that's it. And I can't wait to play it. And when I do, I'll take pictures of it and we'll talk about it.
Nice.
We'll make up a holiday so I can talk about this one game.
I'm pretty sure we could figure that out. Yeah. Yeah.
We won't
Listen,
make anything up.
if anybody can stretch something and fit a round thing into a square hole or whatever the saying is, it's us.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of Kickstarters, one of the games I'd like to talk about is a new Kickstarter that got delivered, and I think 'tis the season, right? Because during the lockdown, during the pandemic, we were a little more active on Kickstarter than usual. I was anyway. I can't speak for you, but I think there's going to be a few things rolling in kind of consecutively now.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's still major shipping issues, but a lot of the stuff that was kind of getting clogged up is all getting delivered within the same couple of weeks now, it seems.
So I got my Kickstarter delivery of the game Floriferous. This is from, I believe, Pencil First Games. I typically tend to enjoy their stuff. And, it's a set collection thing, right up my alley. Bunch of cards, trying to just satisfy some, symbols on these other kind of, it's like a contract fulfillment sort of thing. You get it, you get points, you get it 3 times, game's over 3 rounds, and it's over. Love the artwork. I love games where, and this is pretty much always card games, where every card is different. And that, I believe that's the case in this game as well. Every card is a unique artwork, a unique flower. And yeah, just love the look of that kind of stuff on the table.
I agree. That's why I backed it as well. Now, we haven't played it yet, and the reason we haven't played it yet is so stupid. We have recently realized that our 2-year-old daughter loves to punch tokens, and this game comes with one small little token board. And we went to play it twice, and we're like, "Ooh, it's got a token. Let's just wait until tomorrow." And we keep forgetting, and she hasn't punched the tokens out yet. But once she does, then we're going to get it to the table.
Nice.
Also, this game was like I said, we backed this game, we got it in, and we got as an add-on a game called Sunset Over Water by Pencil First Games. Now, that's a game that I've had on like my Amazon shopping cart for a while. I've just been watching it, and I just never pulled the trigger. But Kickstarter, yeah, sure, I'll just get that other game too. Just throw it on in there.
It's so tempting to just add stuff on, man.
But we did get a chance to play that game, and we played it on a very small table. Actually, it wasn't too small, but it was we got like a little table for our daughter that we just keep in the living room, and it's maybe 2 feet by 2 feet, something like that, maybe 2.5 feet. And we played it on that from the couch. So we had a nice little couch game.
Sweet.
Yeah, and
another beautiful looking game too.
Beautiful artwork. Not everything is different, and we only played it once. And there's definitely gonna, if you play this game, just realize that, like, by the 3rd or 4th round, where you're like, "Oh, I get it." The game's gonna be over soon. You're only going through your deck of cards once there's 2 cards. So all of a sudden, we're like, "Oh, there's only." I wonder how if we reshuffle them, and then. Nope. As soon as we get done, we're done. So I'm like, I got all these cards that I can't do anything with, all these symbols, because I was just like, well, let me just get a bunch of cards and then I can use them later. Not the right strategy for this game.
I wonder how similar it is to Floriferous, actually, now that you mentioned the symbol thing.
I don't know. Try to check that one out soon.
Yeah, we'll do a side-by-side maybe. So one that definitely is not a couch game for me that takes up quite a bit more room is sort of one that we talked about for Halloween, which is the game Horrified. Awesome cooperative game, awesome family game. You and I both love it, and I recommend it constantly to people whenever I can. Every time it's on sale, I'm like, buy this game. And the new version just came out, which is the American Monsters. So this is a completely different game. It's not an expansion. You can't combine them, at least not yet. But man, I am loving this new version. I love the map. I love the artwork. I love the monsters. The monsters I was impressed with the fact that they had, 6 new monsters.
Cryptozoological creatures.
Yes, specifically.
Not classic like monsters like Dracula.
Right. And I appreciate the fact that there's a kind of a subtitle to that, right? It's Horrified Universal Monsters, and this is Horrified American Monsters.
Right.
What's next?
I'll tell you what's next, because and I'm just slinging some bull here, but if you flip that board over and you look at, they have like a little map as to like where these creatures are located in, I guess, just the continental U.S. Right? I don't know if Alaska or Hawaii are included.
I don't think so.
But it has that map, and it's got a little spot for Champ, which is like a Loch Ness monster type creature. It's got like Area 51, so they could do like a UFO. It's got a couple haunted houses. They could do some ghost type stuff. They could do so. This thing is ripe for an expansion.
Yeah.
And a really cool thing about this game, as compared to the first game, is that the minis for these creatures are so much cooler. They're such better quality than the minis from the first one. And I don't even use the minis from the first one. We have like upgrades, but these are nice. I don't feel like I have to run out and get upgrades because they're fine. I could just paint them. That's not going to happen. But I definitely love this game. I don't know if I love it more than the original Horrified, but at the very least, it's just about equal.
Yeah, I mean, it has my interest currently because it's so new. But when the dust settles, and I mentioned this to Chris, I'd love to do at some point. I want to rank all the monsters in terms of how much I enjoy playing them in the game or playing against them in the game. Because what I was impressed with was I feel like they did a good job of making the monsters have pretty different win conditions versus the original ones. There's a couple of like semi basic like layovers there or whatever, but they're pretty unique. And specifically the Jersey
You've
Devil.
played with all the monsters now?
I haven't played against Bigfoot yet.
Neither have we.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it just the 5 or is it 6 monsters?
It's 6 altogether. Yeah.
We might not have played against another one. We might not have played against, what is the Ozark Howler?
No, Ozark Howler was no joke. That guy was.
I think we did that one as well. I don't know.
But yeah, I love how they keep innovating with these monsters and the different ways to advance against them, and just love it. We talk about this one forever.
Yep. All right. Well, since Horrified is kind of like a Halloween theme, I'm going to take that as a nice little segue to talk about Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters. This game, I love this game. I really do. It's a cooperative game. It's very simple rules.
Sure.
We played this 3 times. We played this. My wife and I played it once, and then we played it twice, 4-player over the computer over Zoom with you and your wife. And we lost all 3 times.
Ooh.
Twice with you guys and once by ourselves. And I still love this game, but I don't know that I'm going to play, next time we play this game, I don't know that we're going to have to try and get these gems out in numerical order. I think I'd like to win one more time, and then we'll start playing it a little bit more difficult because 0 for 3 is not fun.
I got to tell you, I think I got my book right here. I think it was last Halloween, and I'm going to double check because it's pretty easy to find. We played Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters a lot of times in a row before we actually won. Because we were just so determined.
While you're looking that up, I do want to point out that on Instagram, one of the guys that I follow that's also on Favorite Game Friday, Gabriel from Board Games and Barbells.
Okay.
Recently did a thing like a story, and he was like, like at the Meeples Republic, what post did you put up in October that got the most likes? And so I looked at his, and he had like 730 likes, and I was like, nothing I have ever has more than like 200. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. I got 89 likes on this. We played Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters 3 times and lost 3 times. But yeah, that was the first time I was ever actually like on Instagram, because I don't know what I'm doing on Instagram. I just put up pictures and comment on other people's stuff. But that was the first time somebody kind of like was like, hey, I nominate this person to do something. And
Yeah.
So that was it was interesting, and it was fun.
That's cool.
I nominated you, but I noticed you haven't done anything.
Yeah, I'm behind on the IG stuff.
It's all good.
So I looked it up. So it was 2 years ago we played Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters 9 times before we won. And there was nothing in between. We played it like every day, sometimes twice in one day.
I will say that of the 3 games that we played, one of them we played with part of one of the expansions that makes it a little more difficult. So
right,
it's understandable to lose that one. But then the next one we played it out, and then the next one me and my wife played by ourselves and didn't play with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
all right.
last weekend, I got to participate. My first time participating in a board game marathon of sorts, and one that specifically was for charity, and that was Extra Life, which is very popular. A lot of streamers and content creators do stuff for Extra Life. I think a lot of video game folks as well. But our buddy Chris Barrows over on the Tabletop Express, go check out his channel. He live streamed from a buddy's house, and they played games for, I believe, 12 hours straight. I was there for maybe five ish, 4 to 5 of them. But we ended up raising a little over $1,000, which is cool.
Hmm.
And I got to play some new games. One of them is definitely a couch game. I played it with just one other person, with Ryan Espin. This is a game called Regicide, which you can buy. There is a published version of this game. However, you can play this game simply with a deck of ordinary playing cards.
Hmm.
And the way it works is it's cooperative, and you take out all of the royalty, so the jacks, queens, and kings, and you're trying to defeat them all. So you have to go through that whole set of all those cards, playing the cards from your hand, trying to equal the value of those royal cards. And each suit you play also has a special ability that does something different, like help you draw cards or help you defend against the damage that you're going to be hit back with from the boss you're trying to defeat. And it was really fun for a very simple game. It was really, really fun. We lost. It's definitely not an easy game to win. I will say what was memorable about it, besides the fact that it was the first time I played it, Ryan's deck of cards was a music themed deck of cards, where each card was a musical artist of some kind. And so each suit was a genre of music, like pop and rock and I think R&B or something like that. And so, we're fighting against like Prince and Johnny Cash and all these all these famous people. So it's funny. Like there was a meta thing that went in with it. It was like, we're not really, I'm not hitting Prince for hits. I'm giving him hugs. Like this amount of hugs, whatever. If you defeat that card with the exact value without going over, that card then goes on the draw pile, and so someone's going to get to use it in their hand in the future. And
I
that's
have
pretty much it.
I've never heard of this game, and just from your describing it as the kind of game that you can play with a regular deck of cards, not really interested.
No.
It's just that's not my foray.
All right.
But
Well, tell me about something that is.
well, I was going to say, but that's cool that you guys raised $1,000, and yeah, so something that is cool. All right, let me. I will talk about a game called Flashpoint. Now, this is a pretty old game. It's been out for a long time. I've played it with you. Now, I had to go out and buy a Hot Wheels fire truck. Actually, I had this fire truck. I had to go through my old Hot Wheels. I found the fire truck. I had to go out and buy an ambulance. I wasn't going to play this game without a Hot Wheels fire truck and a Hot Wheels ambulance around the side. And we checked it out. I remember I've played it before. I borrowed it from you. I guess I had forgotten. And the game is awesome, but the rule book is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm reading through this rule book and like, again, because we borrowed it from you and I had forgotten that. So we bought the game. I opened it up and reading through the rule book, and I'm just looking at the rule book and I'm like, I've never read this before, as far as I know. And I'm looking at it and I'm pretty sure I hate it. And I don't know why. And then it wasn't until like I realized, I was like, oh, that's right. We borrowed this and we tried to play it. We played it, but man, this rule book, it has like the basic game, and then you got to like read through all that, and then you get to the regular game, and it's not a well-written rule book. The rules are
Yeah.
fairly simple, but that first play was tedious, and I was not expecting it to be. It was like, hey, let's play this game. It's got that basic concept of like pandemic, where okay, we just did our turn, and now let's see what happens. Oh, something spread. Now
Right.
and so like the strategy and everything of the game, very simple, but just and then you do this and finding everything exact. Ugh, what a pain.
Yeah, I don't like when rule books have those two separate like setups that way, because they're always like, oh, for the advanced game, do all the stuff from the basic and then do this and this and this. But it's like you're constantly then going back and forth, right? Because when you get to a point where you're like, what does this do? Well, does this have a different thing in the variant, in the expert variant or the basic one? And I feel like there should almost just be like two separate books for that type of game. Which one do you want to play? And it has, even if there's repeat information, it's like this is this one and this is this one.
I agree. You should just have the way the game is going to be played most of the time is probably going to be the advanced game for this one, not for all games. That should be the beginning and of the book. And that should be like the first 2/3 of the book. And then have it on the front page say, if you want to play the family edition, the basic version, skip to page 6 or something.
Right.
And then that's how you have it set up. That way you can learn the full game and then learn what it takes away to play the basic game, which I think is much easier. Or you can just learn the full game, put the book away, and play. But yeah, it was a great game. I'm not going to hold it against it that the rule book is that bad, but it's definitely left a bad taste in my mouth that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get off the shelf.
Yeah.
Just because we don't play it often enough that when we do play it, we're going to have to look at the rule book and just get a little refresher. And
I
we're
agree.
not looking forward to that.
This is my most worn out rule book because this is the first game that I bought in the modern gaming hobby. And because it's so fiddly, there's just a lot of going back and forth, and it's kind of like falling apart and things like that. But yeah, so for that reason, I have a sweet spot for this game because it was my first love. All right, next up for me is a version of a game that I own but have only played that one and got to play a new one, and that is Azul. So Azul currently has, I believe, 4 iterations. I think one either just came out or is announced at least. I played the third one for the first time, which is the Summer Pavilion. This
Cool.
has the rhombus or diamond shape little tiles instead of squares. And it was more focused on like surrounding certain spaces and filling in like these starburst shaped things. I actually got to play this at our friendly local game store, Time Warp Comics and Games. They, I believe, just started having their in-person semi-regular meeting of game club thing, and so I went to that and learned that game. A lot of fun. I liked it. Definitely don't need to own it. I don't think I need to own more than one Azul. They're not different enough for me that I need them all. But a fun game to fiddle around with the bits because they're nice and kinky.
Yeah, they look cool in that one as well. All right, and the last game I want to talk about before we move on to our main topic is Animal Upon Animal. I got a chance to play this with my niece recently, and I've never played it before. We own it, but my daughter's 2, and you get these little wooden meeples and you stack them. You roll a die, and then the die will tell you like either what animal or where you're going to put it or what something. Just only like 6 options, and then you take it and you put it on something, and then it's the next person's turn. And it was fun. I got to enjoy some board gaming time with my niece.
Now, which version did you play?
Just the regular one. Now we have the unicorns one, but this was just the basic one with like the sheep and the alligators. I am interested because there's a Christmas one.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we get this one played sometime in the next year with our daughter and she likes it. And then next Christmas, we'll get the Christmas one.
Next Christmas, I'll give you this game.
And this really is neither here nor there, but there is an advent calendar. I think it's Haba has an advent calendar out that is all wooden meeples. There's like little animals and things like that. And so there's 25 of them. And on December 1st, we're going to open up the little door and she goes, and maybe we'll have her stack them and play her own kind of game of animals.
Are they that like thickness? Do you know that you could use them?
I haven't opened it yet,
Okay.
Because it's still November. But I'll take some pictures when that gets opened up and I'll show you.
Nice.
Because we're very excited about it.
Sounds cool. So wrapping up for me, the last game I'm going to talk about real quick is a classic at this point, 2-player only game. Some would argue one of the best, and that's Targi. I was late to the party on Targi overall, but it has quickly become one of our favorites in this household, so much so that it was on, or is, I should say, on our 10x10 challenge for 2021. I believe we've played 5 games of it or 6 games of it. I won the first one, and then my wife won the next 4, and it was brutal. Every time we play, I look over and I'm like, "How did you get all these cards?" Like she always has like 2 or 3 more cards in her display than I do, and I finally beat her last week, and I beat her by like 10 points too. So it was a
Nice.
nice. And so I got to color in my little meeple on that chart for her 10 by 10. But overall, she's still whooping my butt in that thing.
That will happen with certain
That will
games.
happen.
Yeah.
All right. But our main topic first, I know you have a couple things you wanna talk about, but let's define real quick what the word polyomino means. Because I'll be honest, I learned this term from getting into the board game hobby,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yep. Absolutely. It's to me, it's just Tetris.
Right.
Tetris is polyomino. If you're thinking about Tetris, Tetris shapes, and trying to like fill in everything perfectly without any spaces to win, that's polyomino games. Now, I could be wrong. There's probably a much more scientific definition on like
Well, I think it just means
boardgamegeek.com.
multi no, but I mean it just means multi squared shape, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's more
2 of them,
scientific than Tetris.
well, I mean, it's the thing that you go to describe them now because that's what we
Yeah.
grew up with
Yep.
was Tetris. Um, you have some Tetris trivia.
I do have some. I have a little bit of Tetris trivia.
All
Well,
right.
it's not really trivia. It's just like a fun fact. Tetris was the first video game in space.
Huh.
Fun fact. Also, the Tetris song, which now I played this on Game Boy. Was that the main thing, or was it also on Nintendo? It was real popular because I thought it was mostly popularized by Game Boy. But there was
I
three
mean,
different songs,
yes.
and they would all get stuck in your head.
Oh yeah.
But they are the Tetris song. I don't know which one that is. Like maybe that one was a 19th century folk song. It was based on a 19th century folk song about the courtship between a peasant girl and a peddler. Which, like in today's terms, it's I guess just a girl at a market. So before we start, so I do have a little bit of trivia. I want to see if you can guess this game. It's a polyomino game. It
Mhm.
plays 1 to 6 players. Negative scores are possible. Um, the start player is the player who has most recently constructed something.
Okay.
And let's see, I don't want to give it away. The entire rule book is 8 pages long, front and back. So, what do you think? You got any guesses? I got easier hints, but I feel like you already know it on this.
I think I know it.
Go ahead.
Is it Tiny Towns?
It is Tiny Towns.
Okay.
I had a picture that I was going to show, and it was just like a close up of like 2 little cartoony figures on the box. But I thought that might give it away, so I didn't do that. Uh,
That's an interesting polyomino game, right? Because you're not actually physically putting polyominoes on your board, but the patterns that you're building are in that shape.
right. All right. So let's get to some polyomino games outside of Tiny Towns. So one that I wanted to bring up is, and by one I mean Uwe Rosenberg's
Trilogy.
uh, catalog
Mm.
of polyomino games, right? Because he's done Patchwork, New York Zoo, Cottage Garden, Spring Meadow, Indian Summer, and one other one, which is last I checked, the number 22 ranked game on Board Game Geek. Do you know what that is? Uwe Rosenberg polyomino game.
Oh, Feast for Odin.
That is correct. So I'm not going to talk about all these games. I'm just going to highlight Indian Summer. Out of all the games, Indian Summer has the really the coolest looking tiles. It's like leaves that have fallen on the ground, and these are
Mhm.
little shapes of those leaves. And the game's great. I think out of them all, well, out of the main ones, New York Zoo is a lot of fun because it has animal meeples too.
Right.
But yeah, I do like Indian Summer because it looks really really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't mind that there's like, I don't mind when a designer does something like that where there's multiple games. And I mean, he has many, but those three are like seasonal polyomino games,
Right.
right? I don't mind that there's three of them. I don't need to own all of them. I mean, you do, and that's fine. But some people get on their case about doing something like that, and it doesn't really bother me. Like if it's working for you and you have a new version of it, go ahead. People buy it or they don't buy
Well, I'll tell you what. Not counting New York Zoo, just counting Indian Summer, Spring Meadow, and Cottage Garden. Two of them have something to do with each one of these polyomino tiles, or maybe some of them have like a little hole in one of the squares, and you want to put
it.
them down so that you can match up two, three, or four different tiles where that hole is next to the other hole, so that it's just there's four different tiles connecting all at one spot. And it's kind of annoying. It's not really that easy to do. Not that it
Right.
needs to be easy, but those two games that do that, which I think are Indian Summer and Spring Meadow, are my least favorite. So therefore,
Gotcha.
Cottage Garden of the three, which doesn't do that, I think is the best game.
So in a perfect world would be the Indian summer artwork without the circle
Yes.
thing. Nice. All right. Well, you kind of sort of mentioned my pick already for my first one round, and that's fine because there are also multiple versions of this game, and that is Patchwork. It's another game that I was definitely a little late to the party on, and I just liked it right away. My wife and I love it. We play it pretty often. We have three different versions. Ironically, we do not have the original, but we have the Americana one, we have the Christmas one, and most recently picked up the Halloween one. Unfortunately, it was after Halloween, but that's okay. Um,
Now,
w-
have you played Patchwork Doodles or Patchwork
we
Express?
we do have Patchwork Doodle as well.
Do you know if that's Uwe Rosenberg, or does somebody else kind of like take his thing and make their own thing out of it?
Oh,
And then give him credit,
interesting.
because like you can't just name a game Patchwork Express and not like give some money to the guy that made Patchwork.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up, but I'm almost positive it would have to be him.
I would think so. I just don't remember seeing that game listed when I was looking through these.
Right, right. Yeah, it's him.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
confirmed.
we we love Patchwork as well. It's the game itself is okay. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's just okay. And but we have all the versions. We have the regular version. We're like, oh, this is a cool game. Oh, there's a Christmas version. Okay, we have to get the
Yeah.
Christmas version. Oh, there's a red white. Okay. There's got to be a Halloween version coming out soon.
Mhm.
So now we have that as well.
And I believe you predicted that that was going to be the
I
next theme.
did. I did predict that.
All right,
Uh,
what's next?
July.
Oh, back in the it was during this. I think it was during the summer, our
Yeah.
summer series, because we
Yeah.
talked about the Americana one. Yep.
So the next game I want to talk about is, out of all the games that I've played that have polyominoes in them, this one to me seems the most Tetris-esque,
Okay.
just because a lot of them, they throw you a curveball. You're using Tetris shapes, but you're kind of doing this other thing. This one is you're trying to be the first person to fill up this whole thing with polyomino pieces, and that game is Baron Park.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a cool game. I love it just because I that's what I want when I play a board game with polyomino pieces. I expect it to be like Tetris, and this one is. And it's also, it's got bears in it. We love it.
Do you have the expansion for this?
We do not. Yeah, we haven't played it enough that we need an expansion.
Fair. Well, one of my favorite polyomino games also involves animals, and that is the Isle of Cats. Now, this one is a game that was sort of on my radar, but I probably was not going to seek it out. It was on Kickstarter. I did not back it on Kickstarter. You, however, did back it on Kickstarter.
I did. I backed two of them.
You did, and
I
I
did.
got one.
Yeah. I don't know
So
why I backed two of them. It's like, oh my god, polyominoes with cats. We got to get two. What if we break pieces? And then we got them. It's just like, all right, I'm just going to give it to Batista.
and it became an instant hit here. I think I've mentioned this before, but I think I like this game a little bit more every time I play it. There's so many cards in the game that I feel like you're not always doing the same thing, and your strategy is not always the same. It's a unique take in that you're filling up a very specific shape, right? It's this boat basically, and you get bonuses for covering up certain spots. But man, this is a game that is not easy to score points in, especially for that whole fill up each room with a boat section. It's like
Yeah.
nearly impossible, like to fill up the whole thing.
Yep.
But I still like the game a lot. Love the artwork, and I did kickstart the expansion, which was Don't Forget the Kittens.
Nice.
So I'm not sure when that's supposed to fulfill, but yeah, I do like Isle of Cats a lot. Now you've been so on this game overall, I think, right?
Yeah, I love the concept, but I've had a couple of bad experiences playing with it or playing
Right.
it. I know they're probably mostly my fault or just, sometimes you just get bad luck with cards and stuff.
Right.
But a couple of things have happened multiple times, and it makes me think that the game is a little unbalanced at times.
Sure.
But my wife likes it a lot. It's got cats, it's polyominoes. I got to give it another try or several. Because I mean, and she backed the expansion too, so like it's not like this game's going anywhere. This
Right.
game's getting to the table semi regularly.
Nice.
All right. I would like to talk about a game called Scarabia, which is not a very well known game.
Hmm.
And it does something a little different with the polyominoes. So each player is going to have their own little board, and there's 12 cards, and each one of the cards has a different picture of a different polyomino shape. So we're going to flip a card, and everybody's going to see that shape, and they're going to take that shape of their own, polyomino pieces, and they're going to put it on their board somewhere. And the way you get points is there's scarabs or like little, pictures on your board's a grid. Obviously, it's polyominoes, and you want to try and block in a certain amount of scarabs within, I think, 1 to 4 tiles. It's got a weird scoring system. So if you take a piece and you separate this little spot of 4, and there's 2 scarabs in there, each one of those scarabs will be worth 4. If you
Okay.
make if you like close in something that's just 1 square, it's 1 scarab, it's going to be worth 1 point. And so you got everybody's got the same 12, and from the beginning, you're just going to basically take 12 turns, putting them down and seeing who gets the best. So there's like no player interaction. Everybody's playing their own solitaire game, and that's how you win. You just play the best solitaire game with these polyomino tiles. And it's fun, it's easy. Each board is like a different season, so there's like a winter board and maybe like a springy board and stuff like that. Just, extra stuff that makes it look cool.
Nice. Well, speaking of seasons, I've got one that involves all 4 seasons as well, and this is also a genre that you and I both like a lot. So this is polyomino in the flip and write genre, and specifically Cartographers.
Right.
This is a game that takes place in the role player universe. There's actually even, I think, a cartographer card that you can use in the role player game.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a flip and write where you're going to be coloring in your map, your empty grid with these different terrain types. And a lot of the cards will have, most of them will have like one shape that you're drawing, but 2 terrains you can pick from. And then other ones have 2 different shapes to choose from. But this is a game where you can use color pencils and not just color in, the shape. You can draw the forest. You can make it look like farmland. You can draw the houses. You don't have to. We 99% of the time we do, just because it's a little more fun.
Yep.
It looks like a really cool map when it's finished. But by no means do you have to do that. You can simply outline if you want. But obviously, enough people do because the Kickstarter that just is shipping now.
Cartographers Heroes, which is already
Heroes,
out.
right?
I got mine the other day.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Still waiting on mine.
Yeah, it's right up here.
Nice. Did you get okay? So here's my question: did you get the colored pencils?
We got the big box, we got
Okay.
Cartographers Heroes, we got all the different new boards, and we got the colored pencils.
Nice.
And
I did not opt for the colored pencils.
And we got the player mat. We got the red one. I think there's red and blue. I love
Okay.
the player mats. I got a player mat for role player as well. And yeah, we don't own Lockup and we don't own Role Player Adventures, But role player, I would love to get role player adventures. I know it just started coming out on Kickstarter, but that thing was like 100, $120. I just couldn't pull
Wow,
the trigger at that time.
that's a lot.
But yeah, I love Keith Matejka, something like that. I love that whole universe, and I'm immediately interested in everything they put out.
Yeah, first time I played Cartographers was at not the most recent Dice Tower retreat, the one before that, back in 2019. Played it and immediately was like, we got to get this game. Really liked it a lot.
Yeah, this is definitely, and eventually we'll do a video where we'll talk about our favorite roll and rights, flipping rights, whatever, and this will be mentioned by both of us.
Yes.
Yep.
Very near the top if we were ranking, I'm sure.
All right. So speaking of our favorite roll and flipping rights, we've talked about this in the past, and we haven't done this roll and right, flip and right video yet because I've been waiting for 2 games to come out. One of them is the Dinosaur World Roar and Write, which I was like, hey, this one's got potential to be, my top 3. It's not. I don't think it's going to be my top 3. It might be. It's fun. It's cool. You're not trying to fill every single space. It's not that kind of a polyomino game. You just have different shapes of pens, and then you're drawing roads to another pen, and then you're going to kind of go around them and score points for everything that's connected in by one road. And then you want to try and connect a different road so that you score more points by the end. So you want to be able to, similar to Dinosaur World, which I don't know if you've played, and I'm not sure about, what was the first one? Dinosaur Island?
Dinosaur Island, I've played that only, yeah.
I haven't played that one, but I don't know if it has that same concept of everybody takes their turn, and then you do a tour, and then you'll get points based on the places that you go on your tour. But the Roar and Write has that. So you kind of draw your few things the first, and then you do a tour and you get points. And then I think everything is worth less, so that the next time you go through, you can't score for the same buildings. But if you keep that tour going and you have the roads connected to newer pens, then you get more points. And it's that kind of a game. It's fun. It's not a bad game. And again, this is just me. I thought I was going to get it, and I was going to be like, yes, I love this game. It's dinosaurs, it's polyominoes, it's rolling or flipping right. But it was,
mediocre.
Yeah. Okay. Again, we only played it once though, so take that with a grain of salt.
All right, so I got one more, I think.
Me too.
Okay, perfect. This is a game that I did talk about back during our summer video series. We did a summer block party, and one of those games I talked about is right behind me here. Now, we did mention Tetris. This is the closest thing I have to Tetris, the board game, and this is pronounced Ahile. I believe I'm saying that correctly.
I believe you are.
Thanks to our friend Evan, who joined us for one of those summer videos and also told me how to pronounce this game, because I believe he said his wife was helping to demo it at a convention. And so she mentioned the game a lot, and I'm sure was asked constantly, how do you say this? But this is very much like Tetris in that there's going to be a polyomino shape out there. And depending on where you're sitting at the table, that's going to determine the orientation of it. And the whole point of this is you're building out this street fair, basically like a festival. And so the shapes are going to come down and fill in and go down just like on the Tetris board, like fall down to the bottom. And you can even do that whole, sneak it in under that little at the last minute hit left. You could do that with this game as well. Love the artwork on this. You're really just scoring points by connecting shapes of the same color. And you'll get visitors that come are going to get you extra points. And then every round, the basically like the entrance to the festival gets a little bit lower, so you're in danger of losing some of those spots, which is pretty Tetris-y as well. I feel like there was a Tetris version that came out later with like a descending kind of board, right? Where I don't know, maybe you got.
Oh, I think once you get to level 20 or something, super fast, and it's dropping from
Yeah. So that's Ahile, definitely under the radar game, but a lot of fun if you like Tetris and you like polyomino shapes. I think you would like this game.
All right.
What's your last one?
My last game is a cooperative city building game with polyominoes called Cities Skylines.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I almost said My City, which is that other game that's like a campaign kind of thing. But
Right.
yeah, City Skylines is it's I guess the polyominoes are just part of the game because there's card play and you could play a card and the top part of the card will say, what's going to happen when you play this card. Maybe you're going to
Okay.
get extra police, but I don't know, people are going to be unhappy or you're going to lose money. But then on the bottom, it'll say something else. So you're going to play a card based on what, because you want to communicate with, the other players and be like, oh, well, I can do this and I can get us more money. Oh, yeah, play that. And then they can play this card with the more money and they can, clean up some trash or something like that. So
Mm.
there's a lot of talking, a lot of communication going on with what you're going to play. And then we can build it. And then, you take in buildings and their polyomino shapes and you just put them somewhere on the board. Polyominoes.
Polyominoes, baby.
All right, that's it. That's all I mean, look, I
That's
got a
it.
whole bunch more games, but
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we could definitely mention more, and as usual, we'd love to hear some of your favorites as well.
oh yeah.
This is definitely a very broad category. There's a lot of games that fall into this, and like other mechanisms, there's some games where it's a very small part, and some games where it's kind of the whole focus. And as an example, Feast for Odin, there's a ton of stuff going on in that game. The polyomino building is just a
Yeah.
small part of that. Real quick, going back to Tiny Towns, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to play Tiny Towns with the drawing of the cards for the resource or the way where each person gets a turn naming the resource that you take?
I don't know that I have a preference.
Okay.
I don't know that I like that game that much
Mm,
that I have a preference in that. It's pretty much
okay.
we'll play it and then we'll just play it however, we're supposed to play it and then maybe I don't like it. And then by the time we play it again, I'll have forgotten how we played it last time. So it's not bad. It's not, I'm
It can
weird.
be frustrating. No, it's a frustrating game. It's a frustrating game for
Yeah.
sure. Your plans can get ruined.
It's
Um,
interesting with how you put it's got resources in it. There's not
yeah,
I don't think there was resources in any of these other games we talked about.
yeah,
And you put resources down in whatever shape, and then you can build a building that takes up that shape, but you have to leave it in one of those spots.
right.
And that's cool. That's different, and I like that. But something about the game, and again, it's been a while. Something about the game just left a bad taste in my mouth, which I guess is an overused analogy for me.
Some mouthwash.
So,
All right, folks. Well, that is all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this Dadcast. Like I said, let us know your favorite polyomino games below, and we'd love to hear from you. We have more stuff coming up in the next few weeks. If you haven't noticed, new videos go up every Wednesday, so keep that in mind. We got holidays coming up. We got kind of a major holiday coming up next month. You may have heard of it
mhm.
before. So no surprise there. We will have several Christmas videos for y'all.
But before that, we got Thanksgiving video coming up.
That's right.
That's
That's
going
right.
to be weird because nobody makes games about Thanksgiving. But we'll figure out something.
We got something in mind. We got something in mind. We'll get
Yeah,
there.
we'll just stretch.
Stretch Armstrong. Remember Stretch Armstrong?
I do. I never had one, but I do.
Yeah. Then they had like Stretch Armstrong versions of like wrestlers and other like characters and things like that. All right, folks. Thanks for listening this long to this nonsense. And we will see you on the next one. Eric, anything you want to add?
Nope.
Happy Polyomino Day.
I thought about it and I was like, I don't think that's a real day. And then I was like, you know what? That might be a real day. Let me save that for when we do the video for that day. So,
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be
nothing.
surprised.
See you next week.
Bye, folks.